but I think it's true. It's going to be about creating your dream travel lifestyle. Now, the beauty of this is we're going to take something that you're already going to be doing in your life, which is spending money, and it's going to enable you to do some really, really epic stuff. And I want to start with a quick story for me. Now, you may be wondering, like, what the hell am I looking at? So I'm going to take you back when I was 16 years old. And this was a crazy moment. I looked up, there's like 25 Dominican guys like cheering around me, screaming, a bunch of American guys. And it turns out I was on a baseball trip in the Dominican Republic. This was my first ever international trip. And we had played baseball against this team. And then we had like a beach bonfire after. We're having all this fun. Somehow stickball turns into a wrestling match. And here I am wrestling a Dominican kid on the beach, getting my head buried in the sand and having the time of my life. So you may be wondering, Eli, why are you showing me this? Well, it turns out, so this was a family vacation that our family went on, and this is my dad here, and he worked really, really hard for a long time, and we never really took that many big vacations because it was a lot of money. It was kind of impractical, difficult to pull off. But this single trip right here, this was one of the highlights of our entire family. If I look back, right, any experience we ever had, this vacation was one of the best experiences we ever had. Everyone's on vacation mode, we're relaxing, we're enjoying life together. And it was honestly the last trip we took like that. And we probably, everyone has their own families now, probably won't get to do it again. And I look back and I was like, wow, it's because my dad made a decision to invest in our family to go have that experience. And this is something we talk about to this day all the time. And I think about it, and I'm like, this was a tough pull for him. And for a lot of people, big family trips where you're traveling with 3, 4, 5 people, you want to go overseas, maybe you want to do business in first class and do luxury stuff, it gets really expensive. And so even for people that do end up doing those trips, it's like once every few years, or you do one and you're like, that was great, but oh my God, that was expensive. And so that's why my mission here is to make it a no-brainer for you as a business owner to just leverage something you're already doing with spending money so you can create more unforgettable travel experiences with the people you love. Okay, this is about points, it's about saving money, it's about credit cards, that's all great, but that's really just the tool we're going to use so that you can create a life full of epic experiences. Like that is my passion, especially for families, for couples. It's something that I think is so epic. And when you have this system down, you can just remove the layers of cost and logistics and planning and all that stuff and just get a lot more trips more seamlessly. Okay, so that's kind of the big thing. So just to make sure I'm in the right room here, I assume everyone here spends money, right? Okay, good. You like to travel? People like some big trips? Okay, cool, open to that. And you like free money, assuming it's legal?
Yes.
Okay, are we 3 for 3? Fantastic, good. So this is gonna help you take your dream trips by maximizing what you're already spending. For most people here, depending on your spend range, just to give you like, what does this actually look like for me? Somewhere usually between around $50,000 a year to 100K per year is on the table if you optimize this, okay? Now it may seem like that sounds like way too much, but that is legitimately accurate based on just numbers that we calculate on average, depending on how much you spend, okay? Bare minimum, I'd say around 20 to 30K, even if you only spend like 10 to 15K a month in your business, okay? So again, it's kind of like taxes here, okay? So the idea is that you get to work smarter and not as hard to save money, but unlike taxes, this can help you drink an espresso martini on a shower on a plane. So this is Emirates first class. I was going over to Europe and they have a shower on the flight. So it's like, does this stuff always have to be used practically? Absolutely not. You could do some really cool things. But ultimately, the idea here is that we call it a freedom gold mine because you get to have more choices. Okay, so you have more points optimized to your business equals more freedom to do with what you want, with who you want, when you want to. Okay, so this is like a really cool experience where I got driven onto a tarmac and I was flying Lufthansa. This was like their first class flight. A private Porsche picked me up from the first class terminal and drives me onto the tarmac so I can board the flight. It's like, is that necessary? Absolutely not. Was it amazing? Yeah, it was super cool because I paid like $90 for that. Right, this is a family of 4. I flew business class. This is Emirates. This is my buddy Carlton and his wife. Actually, they just had a baby. This was his parents' first time going to Europe. He used his points from his business, took them all to Europe. It was like a $40,000 or $50,000 trip, and they hardly came out of pocket for it because they used the points effectively, and they got this in-flight bar experience. And you can just do awesome things with friends too. Okay, so the goal here is to make this actionable for you. And what I'm going to cover is basically, I'll be skipping around a little bit because there's some things that are probably not as relevant here and I want to hone in specifically for you. But some top common mistakes to avoid. I'm going to give you strategies to help 10x your points. So like, how do you earn more points and use them more effectively? I'm also going to give you guys like a family. This is a live example. I found this last night specifically for this group. This is a live example. So someone can book it today if you have enough points. It's a $40,000 trip to go see the Christmas markets in Europe in December. Literally, I'm going to show you the flights, the route, and how you can do it for just a couple 100,000 points. Okay, so normally that'd be like $40,000 or 4 million points. I'm just going to show you the exact step. Be like, here you can do it for like 500,000 points, 500,000. Okay, so and that's like literally live. You could book it today. We'll talk about how to get bucket list trips at a fraction of the cost. And also you'll get that link down there. You can set up a consult with us. The way we do things is, we like to give value first. And then if you're like, hey, what services you guys offer? We'll chat about that later. Obviously, we have a company. But the idea here is get you guys clear on what you could be doing. We'll give you top card links to top cards. And then we have a calculator too. I know with real estate, you guys probably love running numbers. So there's a calculator where you literally just put in your spending amount and it will tell you based off of how much you spend, like how many trips per year you could be getting to different places in the world. Okay, so we'll give that to you as well. So cool if I run some numbers for you guys to show you kind of how this works. Break this down for you. Cool. So this is one of our clients who we planned a trip for. This is a Maldives honeymoon type trip. Now, one of the things I love about this is a lot of people come to us being like, hey, we want to take a big bucket list trip, like a honeymoon. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And then we end up having conversations like, well, what if we did a honeymoon trip for you every year instead of like once ever? Like, why don't you do it annually? Because you can. And this trip would have cost $40,000 for them. They flew Emirates business class. They got an overwater villa. They did the sand dunes in Dubai. They did this awesome thing. And through the strategies we did for them, it was only 900,000 points compared to 4 million, which they didn't even have. Okay. So they saved the out-of-pocket cost. They saved the crazy points that it would have cost had they gone to the bank portal, which is what most people do. And through the strategies that we're going to talk about, it was only 900,000 points. Okay. Now, that's a huge deal. But one of the biggest benefits that most business owners miss is that points are non-taxable. So what does that mean? Well, if you think about it, for that trip, right, usually a business owner is going to pull money out of their investments, out of their business. They're going to pay tax on it, and then they're going to pay for the trip. But if you use points that are generated, whether it's generated from business spend or personal spend, and you go on that trip, you don't have to pay tax on it. So you save on the money that you would have pulled out of your business to pay tax on, and you get to just leverage that kind of lifestyle benefit as a business owner. So it's a very strategic play, and that's a big deal. So if I were to reverse engineer this kind of like quickly for her, right? Let's just say she has a company. I know a lot of you guys are doing different investing in real estate and construction stuff and different things, but if she had a business, in order to get $41,000 out of the business, she basically would have to have generated $51,000 of additional profit to take that trip. So if she was planning next year, hey, I want to go to the Maldives, it's going to cost me an extra $51,000 of profit to do that. Making up some margins and stuff like that, that's basically going to be an extra maybe $150,000 of revenue, which might take like 80 hours of work. So the idea here is working smart and not hard, because option one is to spend 80 hours in your business to produce enough cash and capital to go do that kind of trip. And option two is you just change a couple cards you use on your normal expenses. You make a few tweaks to how you utilize those points and you get the same outcome. Okay. So it's just a shortcut. It's just a shortcut to the things you want. Okay. So this is really best if you spend around 15K plus per month between business and personal spend. You have a desire to create epic travel experiences. They don't have to be to Dubai. They don't have to be the Maldives. I mentioned Lake Tahoe. I was out there in June, and in Aspen, I did a basically mountain trip where I saved probably $8,000 on like a week-long trip just on that one. That was domestic, right? So it doesn't have to be that. But you're someone who's looking for like high leverage activities. I imagine that's you if you're in this group. But we call that basically being a bucket list CEO, someone who's optimizing for creating experiences. So this kind of talks about the first big question a lot of people have. How should I use my points? When should I use my points? Is really the big question. They're like, do I use it here? Where, when, how do I do it? Priority number one, save them for your big bucket list trips. Whatever those dream trips are. Why? Number one, it's better for tax strategy. It's where you're going to get the most value in their personal trips. They're not a write-off. Number two, it requires some planning ahead to do. So you want to like basically stash those points away for those trips. And then number three, the big idea is like, what are you going to remember when you're 90? Like if I give you an example here, this is a fancy vacuum on Amazon. If you go use your points on Amazon, this will cost you 225,000 points for a fancy vacuum, right? Your house maybe gets a little cleaner. The same points, we base roughly the same, is a little bit more. We sent this couple on Singapore Suites, which is a double bed in the sky, right? Worth $20,000 almost for the same points. So it's like, do you want a vacuum or do you want an unbelievable bucket list trip that's worth 20K? So that's kind of the idea, the thinking here, okay? So that's the idea, is like the old way of thinking about this is I'll just take the trips later, luxury travel expensive. This is a thing I have to save up for years. It's once in a lifetime. The new idea is there is no next year. I'm going to take the thing I want to do now. Luxury becomes kind of the standard of how you travel. Cost becomes no longer a constraint. And then you basically take once in a lifetime trips once a year. Okay. That sound good, guys? I'm going to get into like the tactical stuff here in a minute, but I want to like set the context on this because if I dive in without being like, where can we go first? It doesn't have as much punch. Like I want this to really land for you guys as what it can do for you.
Let's take just 1 minute real quick. Any major questions from anybody this far? I know you're trying to get a lot in a short period of time, Eli. I appreciate you, and I'm sorry for the delay. Anybody? I saw Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is are you like a travel agent? Is this a business? Like we can consult with you and you'll help us do it?
Yeah. So I mean, our company, we have two levels. Basically, there's one where we do things for you, kind of like it's like a points travel agent pseudo thing, and then one where we more consult. So we more guide you, say, hey, this is like what you want to do, but we'll consult you. So it just depends on what you need. But yeah, we do both.
Okay. And I'm assuming we'll be able to get your contact information at the end of this call?
Yeah. I dropped the link in the chat, so you can just set up a call through that link.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's in there, right?
I got it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So cool. Any other questions, guys? I'll get into a lot of stuff that'll probably eliminate other questions of how this works in a minute, but at this point, you're probably like, this sounds great, but what's the catch? So we'll get into what that looks like in a second. So we're not going to get into this now, but like basically the idea here afterwards, if you think about it, like I want your life to fit into your dreams, not your dreams to fit into your life when it comes to your trips. So the idea would be like, if you wanted to go somewhere and you're like, we've always thought about the Maldives, we've always pushed it off, whatever, never seemed practical or realistic, just go ahead, go to Google Flights, be like, what would it cost to go business class from Philly to Maldives, 3 people round trip? What would it be? Because we want to get an idea of what the cost is going to be, and then we want to reverse engineer around that, and that's kind of the key. Okay, so you gotta have my background here, but I've been doing this stuff for 10 years, been in the travel industry for 10 years. We've helped several hundred clients from multiple 8-figure entrepreneurs to 6-figure entrepreneurs, real estate investors, people with multiple businesses, people investing in real estate, stuff where credit's important. We've done basically it all. And as you asked, Mike, basically what we do is we have either done for you level services where we just handle it, or we can more consult. Our stuff ranges from $1,500 all the way up to $15,000 sometimes. It just depends on how in-depth we're working with people.
Sure.
But the idea is to help fill your life with more bucket list trips, okay? So I want to put this into context for you so you can understand how this works with value. So if you're a business owner, right, the idea is you want to maximize your value, aka you do that through profit. There's 2 levers going on in the business. You either increase your revenue or you decrease your expenses. Pretty simple. Points, same way. We're either going to increase the amount of points we earn through getting the right cards and the right expenses, or we're going to get better value out of the points, aka multiply how far they can take us. Ideally, we want to do both, right? If you get twice as many points and they take you 5 times as far, you got 10 times the amount of value from the money you're already going to spend. Okay, so that's a big deal. So that's like the 2 biggest mistakes we see a lot of people making is they have the wrong cards on the wrong expenses. That doesn't always mean that you have all the wrong cards. It just might mean you're using them wrong. So you might have, I'll just give you an example. You may have, let's say everyone eats, right? So there's a lot of cards you give it dining on. Well, let's say you use the Amex Platinum when you go out to eat, and you also have the Amex Gold, and you use the Amex Gold for traveling. Well, you want to flip that. The Amex Gold earns 4 points per dollar on dining and groceries, and the Platinum earns 5 times on travel, whereas the Gold doesn't earn as much. So if you flip that and you do those small tweaks where you just get it organized once, you'll look up in 3 months, 6 months, a year, and you'll be like, oh my God, I have like millions of points now. And it happens kind of on its own. It's kind of passive in that sense. It's not passive income, but we call it passive points. But so there's oftentimes where there's a couple wrong cards, but oftentimes people have some of the right cards. They're just using them wrong. So that's one big thing. And then the biggest problem most people make is that they're wasting their points. They're just they're cashing them in at value that's like a third, a quarter, a fifth, a tenth of what they should be. And that's what I'm gonna really help you understand here. So we like to keep things simple because you guys are business owners, you're real estate investors, there's a lot going on here. So like you don't need another thing in your life right now. So we like to try to keep it simple so you can understand like if you're winning at this game. And the 3 buckets to look at are how well am I earning points, how well am I maximizing them, how much value am I getting from them, and how many like free upgrades and benefits and perks am I getting. Those are the 3 trunks we like to look at. Okay. So when it comes to earning points, the 3 key things, we want to stop using the wrong cards. Simple. Get the right cards, and then put the right things in the right cards. Okay. So what that looks like is, this is getting more into the tactical stuff, okay? There are specific points that enable you to do different things. Just like there's different currencies with dollars and pesos and euros and yen, points are kind of like that. So there's some points that are worth a lot more. And if you don't know the difference, and someone's like, hey, do you want 1,000 or 100,000 Hilton points, or 100,000 Hilton points, or 70,000 Amex points, you'd be like, well, 100's a bigger number, so I'll take that. When in reality, it's worth like a third as much because the currency is not as powerful, okay? So I'll make that simple for you, but that's a key thing to understand, because if you have the wrong points, you can't do what I'm talking about. The next thing, now that you've got the right points, we want to maximize how many of them we earn by putting the right expenses on those cards. Pretty simple. Then we want to look for low-hanging fruit. So like when you get the card, you're going to get a sign-up bonus, stuff like that, okay? Now, when it comes down to like setting this up, we've helped a lot of people with this. I recommend on average around 2 to 3 personal cards and 2 to 3 business cards. You don't want to have 30 cards playing around. It's just like, it makes life too complicated. But 2 to 3 of each means you're getting enough where you're really maximizing the value. And it's still simple enough where it's not hard to manage, okay? So that's the key. And once you get it down, you're like, this is the card for this, and this is for this. It's simple. You set up automated stuff, and you're good to go. Okay, last thing is when you're going to sign up for cards, we have links ourselves. There's other people in the group. Pete, for example, you have some cards that have referral links. So if other people are going to sign up, use each other's links. Always just sign up through someone's link because they can get referral points, and so can you. Okay. So some big common mistakes, some no-nos, things we'd want to stop doing. Cash back cards. Okay, like some of the best cash back cards in the market. There's some new ones coming out that are close to like 3%, but even that pales in comparison to around 7 to 9% total that you can get if you use your points for travel. Okay, so like cash back cards are they're not as good. Even if you had a 2% card, there's a lot of cards that earn 2 points per dollar. So you could cash them out. In the worst case, you're in the same boat as a cash back card, but in the best case, you're getting 10% back or 15% back. So it's always better to go for the points option over the cash back option. Okay, it's just basically how it works, because you can cash the points out if you had to. Okay, starting with an airline card is also a big no-no, or even like a hotel card. There's certain situations where it'll make sense. If you're traveling like twice a month or 3 times a month, and you're staying in like hotels 90 nights a year, yeah, then we definitely want to dial that in. But you still want to put a lot of your spending on the bank cards because they earn better points. So a lot of people have a Delta card, American card, or Southwest card when it's not the right card to get them the most value. They're just like, well, I live in Phoenix, so like there's an American hub there, or I live in Atlanta, so like of course I have the Delta card. There's actually a lot of cards that are better in those situations. Okay, and then some people like bank cards, they're just the wrong ones. So like a Bank of America card doesn't earn you points. So there's really a few specific programs that have the best value, and why these are valuable, guys. This is like the key piece here to drive home. They unlock what's called transferable points. Okay, so some of you are probably familiar with that, some maybe not. But this enables you to convert your points from banks into airline and hotel loyalty programs. This is the key. This is the key. The top 2, if I just recommend, like which ones do you want to start with? Chase and Amex, the easiest 2. Capital One's also really great, but these are the easiest 2. Okay. If you rent somewhere, like I rent downtown in Austin, there's a card that you can actually pay rent on with no fees. That's the Bill card. It's a new one. But if you want to keep it simple and you're like, all right, get me optimized, these are 2-point programs. So you want to look at cards issued by Chase that earn Chase points, not like a Chase United card or a Chase Marriott card or an Amex Delta card. I'm talking about an Amex card that earns American Express membership rewards, or a Chase card that earns Chase Ultimate rewards. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. And I'll give you some examples in a minute. But a lot of people are like, do I even spend enough of this? Like, it sounds like you have to spend a lot. I used to think the same thing until a 7-Eleven Slurpee changed my life, okay? So I'll take you back to when I was 23 and I was just learning about this stuff. I was making like 30 grand a year total, and I had a bunch of friends that were on Wall Street making a lot of money, and I wanted to travel with them, but I didn't have any money. So I was like, I got to figure out this points thing. And I heard about this card and I was like, this sounds way too good to be true. And the card term said, on your first purchase and the $95 annual fee, you can get 60,000 points. Now, I had already done enough research to know 60,000 points gets me a round trip to Rome. And I was like, so I can buy a Slurpee and go to Italy? So I was like, I got to test this out. So I did it. Boom. The purchase, paid the $95 annual fee, 60,000 points hit. A few months later, I'm on a trip to Italy. Okay. So I use that example because even if you don't spend like 100K a month or something, you just spend 5K, 10K, 15K, there's still so much stuff that can make a big difference for you. The more you spend, the easier it is though. Okay. Now, I want to illustrate how it looks when you do this right or wrong when it comes to maximizing your spend on your ongoing category purchases. So, advertising, travel, software, cell phone services, like, dining, groceries, office supplies, shipping, all of those things. So let's say you spend 100 grand in a year on a combination of software, advertisements, and travel. I'm just picking random categories. It's probably different for yours. Could be supplies to fix up a fix and flip, whatever it is for you. Okay. Let's say you have the Amex Business Platinum and you put those purchases on there. Okay. You're going to get around 100,000 points because you get 1 point for every dollar. If you go through a site like Amex Travel, which is the easy way, this is kind of how the banks win the game. You would get $1,000 from that. Okay. So you spend 100 grand, you got $1,000 back. However, if you got the Amex Business Gold, that is going to earn 4 points per dollar on those categories. So now you've earned 400,000 points. Okay. If you transfer these points, and like I'm going to show you in a minute, and you get 4 times the value out of the points, which is pretty standard, you just got $16,000 back. Okay. So that would be like, 3 or 4 people round trip in Europe business class. So you spend 100 grand. In one case, you get $1,000. Another case, you're taking your family to Europe in business class off of the same spending. So huge difference. What we change? What card we use? How we use the points. Okay? Big difference. So there's a bunch of categories you can optimize depending on your business. These will vary, but even things like mortgages for your properties, there's a tool called Plastique. You can put those on cards. There are fees involved with that stuff, so you want to know what you're doing and like making sure that's a positive ROI move. But there are ways to put literally anything on a card. I put payroll on a card, my rent's on a card, insurance is on a card, like everything. And some of these tools will allow your recipient, if they need ACH or check or a wire, it will send that to them and you put on your card and you get the charge. Okay. But some really low hanging fruit ones, right? Everyone's going to eat dining and groceries. You got to maximize that. The Amex Gold tends to be the best card for that, in my opinion. So that's a no-brainer card. If you reach out to us, we end up doing full custom card plans for people where we go through and audit everything and give the right card line and all that stuff. So if you're thinking about that, we would help you situate that rather than just like applying on your own. But if you're like, hey, I don't want to do anything with you guys, which is totally cool, of course, and I just want to get a card of my own, that's a really good card to get. Really good card to get. On the business side, for you guys, my guess would be a lot of inventory and like materials costs, right? For most people here. So that's one where you want to look to get, you want to basically get the highest possible earnings on what we call a non-category bonus. So if you're going to Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, you guys are spending a lot of money there for materials. You'd want to get a card like the Capital One Venture X for Business because it earns 2 points per dollar on non-category bonus purchases. Okay. So what does that mean? That means you just double the amount of points you're going to get from all your materials purchases if you're doing a lot of stuff with investment properties. Okay. So that's kind of the idea. We want to look at the top categories to optimize. Now, the next piece is called basically multiplying the value points. So we just talked about earning the right points, chasing Amex ideally. We are going to amplify how many we have through getting the right cards on the right expenses. Now it's like, how do we use them to actually redeem them for the trips that we want? That's kind of the big key here. Okay. And this is an example. And this is why I love this stuff, because it opens doors to do things that you'd never normally do. You wouldn't even think about doing probably. And so question for you guys is, how many dates in do you typically think it's like appropriate to go on an international trip with your girlfriend if you just met them? How many dates? Anyone got any? You can chat it in.
At least 5.
At least 5. Anyone else?
I'm saying go quick. I mean, you want to win her over.
I was gonna say first date. Like screw it, let's go to Paris.
Yeah, I always say if you want to know if it's gonna work, just go overseas with someone quickly. So this was our second date, and basically what happened for this is I'm in Europe for a month, and I just met this girl in Austin who I now live with, and things have been going great. This is 2 years ago, but basically I'm in Europe for a month, and I'm like, wow, I really like this girl. Going away for a month kind of sucks. That's kind of a buzzkill to a relationship. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna look so needy. I don't know how this is going to come across, but like, it was like, I should invite her out to Europe. And the other part was like, no, don't do it. And I was had this whole thing. So I sent her a message and I'm like, hey, probably bad idea for you to consider coming to Europe next week, right? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I got the whole points thing. I found this epic 5-star resort in Sardinia. It's a 2-bedroom villa unit. It's right on the water. I can get the flights. I can do the hotels. And she was like, yeah, I should definitely come. And I'm like, cool, booked. So week out, she comes over to Sardinia. We have an amazing trip. It like kicks off our relationship in a really cool way. And again, it's like, is that a necessary thing? Probably not. Like we probably, hopefully would have stayed together anyways. But that kind of gets to be like a cool milestone for us. And that's an experience that if I didn't have this down, it wouldn't even entered my mind to be like, she should come to Europe. Right. So like if you have a partner, a wife or a husband or whatever, and it's like, we want to just kind of be like, hey, do you want to go to like do something, epic next week? It doesn't have to be to Europe. It could be to, a 5-star luxury resort in the States that's 2 hours away from your house. This thing's normally $3,000 a night. We can go for 2 nights and it's going to cost you nothing out of pocket. It's like, that is so worth it to be able to do those kinds of things. And so in this case, right, this was a $13,000 hotel stay. Instead of paying 1.3 million points through Amex Travel or Chase Travel, I did it for 140,000 points. Okay, through transferring these points. So I'm going to show you how that works now in a minute. Now, this is like, so what's the catch? Okay, there's not a lot of catches in this. There are some complexities that you want to try to avoid. Okay, because like, it's got to feel simple for you to get the results. Otherwise, it's like, just everyone will probably just be like, I'm too busy, screw it. That's why we help with this stuff, because this is confusing. But basically, this is how it works behind the scenes. Okay, there's different bank points, and they can convert into different airlines and hotels. Okay, so for example, I mentioned I flew Lufthansa before. Well, you can't convert Amex or Chase points directly into Lufthansa, but because they're a part of the Star Alliance, the partnership alliance for that airline, I can convert my Amex points into Air Canada to book them, right? Or I could convert United points into United to book them, and they're partners. So there's ways to kind of game the system through like arbitrage, transferring things around. There's ways to save the time on that. This is what we're really experts in, and it can be somewhat confusing, but this is kind of behind the scenes, right? So we want to avoid this and try and keep it simple. But this is like, if there was like, what's the catch? It's like, you don't want to try and memorize this. This is something you want to get shortcuts on, which is what we're here for, and also what, like, if there's some AI tools and stuff out there now that help with this stuff. Jay, were you gonna say something? I know it's 1:15, so, or 2:15 for you guys.
No. I made every announcement I needed to. My face was more confounded on this right here, so I just
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I'm just intrigued by the map here. That's all.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a disaster, right? So, in my old day, I learned it the hard way. I kind of like memorized this whole thing. Now there are tools that help with this, but ultimately, it's still someone putting into practice can be kind of challenging. But it's how the magic's made, and this is it, right? Banks want to win customer loyalty, so they have all these incentives and stuff like that, and airline programs, hotel programs. They're designed to be gamified, and they're designed for very few people to kind of win the game, right? That's how they keep their business alive. In fact, most airlines don't actually make that much money on selling seats. They make more money on their loyalty programs because of the gamification. So it's kind of beating the airlines and banks at their own game by leveraging this. But the way to know if you're doing this well or not is there's like one kind of key metric here, which we call cent per point. Now I'm just going to briefly explain what that means and make it simpler. But basically, if you had a $3,000 ticket and went to Amex Travel, it's going to cost you 300,000 points. If you do it through transferring, you might get it for 100,000, which means it was 3.3 cents per point, or 3.3 times better than what Amex gave you. Or another way of saying it is you got it for 67% off. You got it for 1/3 of what the bank wanted. Okay, so that's how we're going to play the game here. Now, some examples of using points, good or bad, good. Amazon, for example, if you had 500,000 points, is going to give you $3,500 for that. Okay, if you go through Amex, it's worth $5,000. If you transfer them in the way that I'm talking about, you do a decent job, it's 10 grand. And if you do a great job, it's worth 25K. So like our average, we've redeemed about 50 million points this year for clients. We're getting on average this. So basically 1/5. We get flights for 1/5 of what Amex would charge, or we get 5 times the value of the points. Same thing, same idea. But an example of this, right? So this is a guy who's actually a home builder based in, do you know, Pete, do you know Chad?
Chad, what's his last name?
Chad Clock?
No.
Okay. So he's a home builder. I thought you guys knew each other for some reason. He's a home builder out in Scottsdale, and he came to us. He's like, "Hey, I want to take my family to Europe. Grandma's never been. She's getting older. This is like one of our last windows to do this. It's like 43 grand. I don't want to pay that. Like, what can you guys work for me here?" So we looked it up. All right, so $43,000 on Amex Travel, because they give you 1 cent for each point, would have been 4.3 million points. Okay. What he paid was 315,000 points, and then $4,000 in taxes and fees, which was actually a unique thing just because of that airline charges higher fees. So a little bit of an outlier, but that's a huge difference. Saved 3.9 million points, almost 4 million points, basically $40,000 compared to what he was going to have to pay. And then, so this is a milestone memory. Like, she's getting pretty old. Got to have a multi-generation trip to Italy. go see some really cool things. And you break this down, right? If you compare the cash cost versus like the retail cost, he paid $4,000 versus what it would have cost, which is $43,000. Okay, if he compared using points, what we're talking about compared to the travel portal, right? Like going to the bank site or Amex Travel would have charged 4.3 million points. He ended up using 315,000. Okay, so huge difference, huge difference. I'll give you another hotel example. So last week I was in South America. 2 weeks ago, actually, I was in Buenos Aires. We stayed at this awesome hotel called it's called the Park Hyatt Palace in Buenos Aires. Huge suite. We got upgraded to this thing. It was super cool, like beautiful building. Right. This would have been, we were there for a week. So it would have been $7,000 for a week, about $1,000 a night for this like suite. Okay. So if I went to the bank site, that's 700,000 points. By transferring points from Chase to Hyatt and then using my status, I got upgraded to this suite. The savings should say about 553,000 points or $7,000 basically. I saved $7K in cash. Okay. And we got a week in the suite. We explored Buenos Aires. We got to go eat steaks that were like fat ribeyes for like $7 because there's so much inflation down there. So that was part of that trip there. And again, if you look at the comparison, I paid $0 out of pocket cash. Most people that do that would pay $7,000. If you're using points, the bank would have charged me 700,000 points. I've used 147,000. Okay, so literally a fraction of it. Now, this is the one where I want to say, okay, you're like, yeah, this is cool. What could I do? Literally, if you want to take your family to Europe in December to go see the Christmas markets, has anyone been to Europe for the Christmas markets? Have you guys heard about it? Probably heard some things, maybe. No? Cool. So like in Europe, these Christmas markets are insane. They're like big festivals. It's like the coolest thing ever. There's people just like, they're having all sorts of drinks and cocktails, and it's like a festival, and it's absolutely beautiful. And they're all over Europe in these small little cities and towns, some big cities too. And it's just a bucket list thing to go see. Okay. It makes the US like festivity look just like so stupid. But this is a $40,000 trip for a family of 4, okay, to the Christmas markets in Europe. Now I'm going to break it down for you. This is a flight. So if you look December 9th, okay, if you were going to fly out again, a little bit of flexibility goes a long way. So like, I don't know where you live, maybe you live in Dallas. Okay, if you hop over to Denver to take this flight out, we'll find a really good deal. If you're like, I only can fly direct from Dallas, there still are deals. It's going to be harder though. Okay, but if you're like, I'm okay with flying an hour and a half, if it means that I'm going to save 25 grand, like that's the thinking you want to have for this. But let's say it's December 9th, right? And you're going to go Denver to Frankfurt, Germany to go hit the markets. That'd be $25,000 in cash for 4 people. Okay. So if you went to Amex Travel, 2.47 million points. If you transfer them, Amex is a partnership with Air Canada, and Air Canada partners with Lufthansa. So this is actually on the Air Canada website. I screenshot this for you. And this is saying, hey, this flight right here, operated by Lufthansa, as you can see, is only 70,000 points a person versus, so for 4 people, it's 280,000 points versus 2.47 million. So all you do, same points, right? They're both Amex points. Instead of going to Amex Travel, you just convert them to Air Canada. For that flight, 280,000 points. You'll pay $228 for 4 of you to go business class. Lay flat bed, get to lounge before, get to sleep on the plane. Way better experience. Okay, and then there's a return flight. Okay, so this is, let's say you went from Frankfurt, you hit a few towns through Germany and then into France. You saw there's beautiful small towns at these markets all over. You fly back from Paris. Okay, again, you'd probably fly back to Chicago and do a 1 stop on the way to Dallas if you live there. So no big deal. But this is, again, a $20,000 flight. That would normally be 1.9 million points. You could book it for 200,000 points instead. Okay, and then $1,500, they have some higher tax and fees. So $1,500 in tax and fees. Okay, but in total, if you break it down, what would the deal be? So this is normally a $43,000 trip, almost 44 grand. You're going to pay cash. The way I'm talking about it, you're going to come out of pocket $1,700. Instead of using 4.3 million points to do that, you're going to use 480,000. Okay, so 480,000 and $1,700 in cash compared to exorbitant amounts of cash or exorbitant amounts of points. This is literally live today. So if you were like, cool, I'm going to go do that, like, please have fun. The dates on here, you'll see was December 9th from Denver to Frankfurt. And then the return was from Paris to Chicago on December 18th. So that's a 9-day trip. You get over there overnight. So you have like 8 days to go enjoy that, a week really to go enjoy it. Okay. So this is the game. And this is cool because again, you just remove the layers of like, I never thought I'd take my family. I didn't even know what the Christmas markets were. I never thought I'd take my family there. But now you're having a bucket list trip that you guys are like, holy crap, that was one of the coolest things we ever did. And you get to walk away from that being like, I hardly paid for it. It's really cool. I still love it. But so that's the idea, guys. Now there's some even bigger bonuses on this. Citi, for example, one of the points programs, they even have a bonus to transfer to Air France. So they have a 20% bonus. So there's like so many layers to this that we kind of help with. But for example, instead of even paying $200,000 for the way back, with that bonus, it only ends up being $166,000 if you have those points. And these banks will do different bonuses. There's all sorts of stuff that make it even just sweeter deals, right? So some keys to doing that, just really quick, you need to have loyalty accounts set up. Obviously, not all banks partner with all airlines or hotels. This is important. Once you convert your points, you can't convert them back. Okay, so like don't just like send them over to Air Canada unless you know you have a flight. But that's how it works. And then the flexibility is really the sweet spot. If you have like a day or 2 or 3 flexibility when you leave and when you come back, and you live in Pennsylvania, you fly out of JFK instead of Philly or Newark, like that will make a massive difference. If you're like, I can only go direct to Europe on this date, and it has to be from this airport. I'm not saying it won't happen, but you're just shrinking the odds that you get a great deal. And when you realize how big of a deal that flexibility can make, that changes the game. Okay, planning ahead helps a lot too. Okay, last thing, I'm going to kind of go through this really quick. This is just the benefits, the upgrades. This is like a nice little cherry on top byproduct. So a lot of you probably do domestic travel to go see properties or go to conferences or family trips, business events, right? So this is like, how do you make travel more comfortable, more seamless, more luxurious, less lines, less headaches, less frustration, annoyances. It's through maximizing the perks and benefits that come from these cards, including status. Okay, so like if you don't have TSA pre-check and clear when you're going through the airport, that's a no-brainer for sure. The Amex Platinum card will get you that. So you just breeze through airports. You also will get lounges from that card, and a bunch of other cards get lounges, but this comes with a thing called Priority Pass, which gets you into 1,400 lounges worldwide. It's a benefit of this card along with many others. You can get a lot of upgrades into first class if you do a lot of domestic travel. If you don't travel a lot domestically, I don't recommend trying to go for status for airlines. But then the hotels, you can get these awesome suite upgrades. I do recommend that. I definitely recommend trying to go for hotel status. Depending on the program, it can vary on like how you get there. But that's something we can advise you on. You can research as well.
Hey, Eli, I just want to, there's probably, I don't know, I'm assuming that people are already stretching their time. So I wanted to maybe give the last 3 minutes to see if the people who have stuck around have some questions, but I don't want to cut you short. Are there some specific pieces?
All good. We covered the meat and potatoes of this. So, I mean, this is basically, we call it a 10x travel day. I'm not going to run through it, but like, this is what an ideal travel day looks like. And this is something once you do once, it doesn't take any magic sauce to do it again. Like this is kind of your new norm for years down the road, but less lines, free bags, lounges, upgrades, early check-in, free suite upgrades, free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, late days in the hotel so you can hang out longer. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes a difference. This is a cool hotel we did in California. That was a big savings on that one. I'll just kind of skip past some of this stuff, but basically the main thing, guys, let me see here. Where are we at? Main thing to kind of conclude here. So essentially there's some card, like in the link you get below, we have a PDF with some top card links. Okay, so this is like standard kind of like out of the box general recommendations. It really is best to customize it to you because like one small change can make tens of thousands of dollars of difference for you every year. So that's why we recommend, like if you really want to optimize it, again, we can support with that. Or this would be a good option. You'll get that link in the link below. So that's pretty much it, guys. Kind of 3 ways to go through things. Either you don't do anything and you kind of just miss on free bucket list trips. You can do the hard way and try and spend a ton of time to figure it out. Or you can talk to us, or there's other experts out there that can help with this stuff. We're specifically suited for business owners that are busier. That's like our focus, that one big bucket list trip. So that's where the call comes in. So if you want that, you can grab the link, set that up, and then any questions you guys have. I don't have a hard stop, so I'm okay with staying on for a few more. If you guys have
me as well. So I have a little bit more time. I was just paying attention to everybody else's time, and
totally.
I wanted to make sure I respected it. And
I got to jump off, but I'll say real quick. I've been a client, I guess, for almost a year. I did my first trip on Qatar Airways to Africa. Me and my wife, we flew Air France back business class, and it was a game changer. A year before that, I flew my whole family of 4 to Ireland in economy, and it was the most painful flight ever. And literally, my son, my 9-year-old son, looked at me and said, "Dad, why aren't we flying first class?" We walked past all the people in the front, and I was like, "Damn, son, that's a good goal for you to have when you're a dad." But then afterwards is when I came across your program, and I was like, why am I not flying first class? I can be. I used to be the guy that did the 2% cashback cards all day long because it was simple and I understood it. But now it's like, okay, I can achieve my travel dreams, just through the normal spending and this points thing. And it's been pretty cool. I'm still early on. I got 2 international trips next year already planned. So I got to jump off, guys. Eli, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you, man. Appreciate sharing that.
All right.
Cool.
Real quick, I have to jump off. But do you have the cheat sheet of what transfers? Because I have I call it the Chase packs. I have the 4 Chase ones to transfer, and then I have the American Express for the business. But I don't. I always get not confused. It's more what transfers work, because I'm like, okay, well, this goes United and this goes here. So I don't know if you have that and share what transfers.
Yeah. Here, I'll actually do something better. This is a tool you can use online. It's a link. It's called the Transfer Partner Pool. So pull that. I'll just share my screen real quick one more time. This thing's sweet because you could say, all right, I got Chase points. Where can I convert them? What's the conversion ratio, and how long does it take?
Oh, perfect.
So it's a really good tool to figure out what transfers where. It doesn't say what the deal is, so you still have to find the deal, but it will tell you where they transfer.
Okay. Now then you'll appreciate this. And a couple of years ago, I was skiing in Canada, blew the knee out. The insurance company, because it was international travel, sent me a check for $35,000, paid for the bill, opened up 4 new credit cards, got the sign-up bonuses, and then boom.
That's epic, man. We have a girl on our team actually kind of similar. She had her basement flood, and it was like a $30,000 repair that they had insurance for, and same thing. It was she was like, sweet, more points. So that's funny.
Everyone's like, oh, they're like, only you can profit off of getting hurt. I was like, oh, I got killer signups.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well done. Much respect, dude. Well played.
Jill, did you have some questions too? I saw you on mute.
No, I was just saying, Eli, and you're probably familiar with this, and I don't know that they're necessarily a competitor, but they might be the 10 times travel. I started that with them 2 years ago. I haven't used their services, but I did a remodel on a property, and I've been doing the sign up bonus game.
Yeah.
With a $300,000 model, I amassed 2.8 million points.
Nice. Yeah, I do know those guys. Yeah.
I mean, and they're more they have the service you're talking about, but they're more of an educational about how to amass the points and the travel. And I've never, like I said, I've never used their services, but I haven't paid for a flight or I'm not a hotel girl, but I've also learned all the other little tips of, you buy gift cards to use at Lowe's and, maximizing all those point systems and stuff. Yeah. So interesting what you're doing as far as and you're speaking.
Yeah, they do, like you said, they do similar stuff. They do a little bit more kind of education than we're more
right.
Let's just do it for it kind of thing. But they're great. I mean, a lot of respect for what they built for sure.
Yeah. So I didn't want to say it to everybody, but I was just saying if they want to learn learn more about how to collect those, I might send them an email, just say, if you want to learn more about how to get the points and stuff and play the points game. I think I got, between my husband and I, 18 cards in a 12-month period. Everybody's like, oh my God, that's so scary. And I'm like, it's not. It's not if you know how to use it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you kind of got to know what you're doing with that and feel comfortable with it. So we have an educational community like that where you get access.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. We have that level. It's included in the consulting package where we do, but we always do a little bit of one-on-one consulting first, because it's just there's such low-hanging fruit where we want to get people results quickly in their business owners. You don't have a lot of time.
Right.
It's time consuming. Better spent elsewhere. And then we have the service level. So we do have, so even that stuff we can cover. I mean, they're great too. I'm not bashing them. They are awesome. So
well, and I'm not. I know they're your competitor, or you guys kind of do the same thing. But when I left my full-time job, I was like, I still want to travel like I'm traveling. So pretty fat.
Do you live out in Tahoe?
No, my family does. So my 2 brothers and sisters and mom live here. I'm just here for the week. I come out 3 to 6 times a year, but I'm just here for the week, do meetings and stuff like that. So
if you haven't, I mean, you probably stay with your family, but if someone else is going out there that wants to go, I did this last in July. the Hyatt Regency in Incline
Oh
Village.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Such a good deal. It was like
Sweet.
a $1,500 a night suite. Really epic, and it was only 23,000 points per night.
Oh wow.
You get private
Yeah.
beach access,
Pretty
100 feet
good.
from the door. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and the fact that you don't have to pay for the beach and all that stuff, which is normally expensive there, was like
Yeah.
big time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for the info.
Cool.
Sorry, Jay.
Got it.
I
No worries.
don't
Totally
mean to
cool.
keep you.
No, it's all right.
Happy to-
I'm gonna get one more minute with Eli, and then
All right.
I'll see you in like a month. But reach out if you need anything. Okay, Joe. Have fun in
All right.
Tahoe.
Sounds good. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Awesome.
All
See you,
right,
Joe. All right. Cool, Jay. Thanks for